with the end of the basic master map also, of course, you can have some fancy little cheat sheet codes, right? So can you make a screenshot of them if you want to? That stuff, of course, which can help you overall, always keep falling back to the absolute basics if you realize at some point, oh shit, I'm getting trapped at some point, whatever it might be. So that's like, for example, so you see some liquidity stuff, you see some supply or some order flow stuff from supply, order flow from demand, some break of structure of how it actually is. Then imbalances, obviously, demand to supply, of what is this? Then, of course, of how to use overall these cycles in terms of when it makes sense to look for POY, supply turns into demand, some extreme POY, often inducement, right? Then, of course, some inducements to the left of how they should look like, then of inducement of after break of structure with the mitigation inside of it, right? And some sort of smart money trap being the red one, of course, and this one being the extreme one, right? And of course, then same thing for here, smart money trap in here, building up liquidity into the inducement, into the POY, which was an inducement of these equal highs. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can screenshot it also if you want. And then, of course, some other stuff in the other side direction. So the most important one probably being this one, right? But it's a little bit more stuff going on in here, but you can see of how it works. If that's being inducement, that's your break of structure, liquidity buildup, building the channel into the extreme mitigation, right? After obviously having imbalances, speed, inducing a channel, then having a break of structure of this one, and obviously you can look for an entry in here, right? Or the extreme mitigation of how it should look like then, right? If this point in here is some sort of higher time frame point of interest, gives you break of structures here, builds liquidity, taps into that as well, right? Also very good one. And the last page, again, some easy stuff again. Just use this little illustration to see of how effective it actually can be. Again, if the moment we use it in combination with all the other stuff, but at least that's the basics of how we use it. So, okay, and there we are, from the basic primitive approach into some sort of imbalance refinements, then differentiating if it's a continuation or reversal, using multiple time frames as well, using basic structure, making a little bit fun out of this one, and how we could use order flow into, again, seeing if it's a continuation or reversal, then finally getting some meat onto it, some clarity into it of what they actually do with a sort of liquidity, of what forms we have, and of how they're actually inducing that liquidity, and how we can use then, based on the inducements, structure in our advantage. The only time we actually can use structure, and we should use structure, and how we can get our points of interest from these inducements, right? So that technically brings you to a basic entry, but guess what? The journey has been long, but just for the basic master map of how we covered it. So again, the basics are there for overall understanding, but guess what? We just literally scratched the top or the surface. The true fun obviously is about to come. We will show you how clean it actually can be with the intraday approaches, and then the moment we include the cycles and all the other complements we have, you will freak the hell out. Okay, so that's just the basics. Again, don't get too crazy with it, because again, that's definitely something, again, we just using very rarely, but it's very important to understand and not getting overwhelmed of what's to come. Okay,